Okay, so I am back, and for those of you who don't know, this is Erin with ECKOArt, Transcendent Lucis, and ECKO Certified Sound Healing. And I am going through an explanation of a small cross section of a lot of images that I have with paranormal, what most people consider to be paranormal phenomena, so that people can better understand what it is that I'm working with as a foundation for both my psychic and paranormal coaching and my psychic artwork businesses. And if you haven't seen the previous clips, I would suggest that you go back and check those out because it will give you a little bit more of a foundation going into the rest of these images, but it's not, absolutely necessary that you watch them in order. So the space around us, it isn't empty. There are beings in the consciousness field around us all the time, and we just have a limited capacity to perceive them. And if you want to learn how to do those things, you can learn how to do those things. Most people have the ability to turn these abilities on and can perceive a whole lot more than they do at the very least. You can only see a limited range of the light spectrum and you can't hear as well as your dog. So with that being said, I'll go into this next picture. So a lot of times the things that we experience, they don't make any logical sense. So you couldn't even say, oh, your brain is looking for patterns because it sees this. No, it's not even that. Not only are you having a fully immersive experience, an interactive immersive experience where your chakras, where you're feeling and seeing and sometimes hearing and smelling and tasting different things that you know are there. Now, usually you're not tasting beings in the, in the area around you. It's not that. Sometimes that you can get like psychic tasting though. So you have this whole overall awareness of your presence within the space that you exist in, and you're open to a whole lot more dimensions than what people know. And so people that are afraid or people that, are traumatized or that just don't know any different, their energy fields oftentimes are pulled in very tight to their body. So they're not able to even feel these things that they could if they expanded their energy field. And you want to know what you don't want to go from one to the other without any practices in place to help you to control that if you can help it. Sometimes people don't have a choice. Sometimes these things happen spontaneously, but that can be kind of shocking to the system. So ideally, there would be a progression. Now, this image here is the same as this image here. And so I've done a rough sketch of a being that has come out. It's both earth energy and trees energy. I mean, this is a being that is coming forth from the mountain itself. So what they do is they will come out from branches and be just in front of and over the branches with the energy field. They'll just protrude just slightly out from them so that you, if you have the ability to, can perceive them. And yes, I do see things like this frequently. This is not unusual. So the eye here is really actually very accurate. The rest of it's slightly kind of funky because I did these things in a hurry. But yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one up, and you can see the eye there. That's an actual eye. You can see the white of the eye. You can see the iris of the eye. You can see the pupil. You can see I don't know what you would call that in a lizard or a crocodile or whatever. I don't know if crocodiles have that. I don't think they do. But you know what I'm saying, like the ridge that goes over the eye. A dragon would have that. So you can see clearly that's an eye. And there's an eye on the other side. You just can't quite make it out the same. And I didn't sketch it very well because I was, I don't know, probably hurrying because I don't get paid to do this. And I had a lot of opposition. But at any rate, and then there's like lips and a chin of this being. So there are so many different things that exist around us. And when we go into nature, we can disturb things. They feel us in the energy field and they come forth to check us out. And so that's what this was. It wasn't scary. It didn't hurt me. It's just part of nature. And so if you go into nature with the wrong intentions, there are things that could make you feel uneasy and make you afraid. But if you're not doing something wrong, that shouldn't be happening unless there's other disturbances in the area, which I'm not going to get into right now. So again, this is a rough sketch just so that you can see more easily what it is that I'm pointing out here. Here's another being. This was probably, I don't know, like 40 feet up in the air, 30, 40 feet up in the air, and quite a ways out at a distance from me. So I was super zoomed out to get this picture. I was zoomed in to get this picture. So it's not the clearest image, but you can clearly see there's an entity there in the energy field. And if you zoom it in, you can see there's an eye here. So there's actually a couple little faces down here. And the eye right here. Sometimes I lose them because I'm looking at other things. And then what looks like some sort of a nose here. So again, they don't necessarily make sense with our reality. There's even some things that just flat out look cartoony that you will see. And they do. Even if you look at old images, a lot of the things, they look cartoony. And I can't tell you why that is. They just do. And they're very real. So a lot of times what you'll get is a conglomeration of different beings or entities coming through, depending on what you're dealing with, coming through kind of in a mass where they're all kind of peeking through at the same time in the same energy field, in the consciousness field. I don't think I described that very well, but I think you get what I'm saying. I've been at this. I've recorded this thing 3 times now. So it's the first 2 times it didn't work. Now I have to do it in segments. But at any rate, it was a 2-hour presentation that I did twice. So my eloquence might be a little bit challenged at the moment. But at any rate, you can clearly see that there are beings. Those are more plasma. They're more plasma in nature than sometimes the misty ones are. And we'll go to this one next. Here we have a giant head. And she has her mouth open and is breathing life force energy. She's got the breath of life coming out of her mouth. And so there's where she is, and the breath of life is coming out from her mouth into the atmosphere. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit. Actually, there's a better way for me to zoom this in. I'll do that in a minute. And down here is a dandelion, and the dandelion you can see was in its last stages. So the white mist thing around the base of the dandelion is actually a white plasma mist. And oftentimes you'll see at different stages of plants. It happens with all living beings. They'll have different energy fields kind of coming off of them and detaching from them, or changing from one portion of it to the other because it's going through a different life phase. So what happens here is, I'm not sure if that's going down into the root of the plant, which could well be. If it detached from the top of it and is going down into the ground, that's possible. It is definitely an energy field there because I saw it in the original. And this little guy right here, yeah, I put that there again. And he looks like a little Dobie, and he's over here. There's another being behind him that was like a little human, but I put the logo over it because it was just not something most people were going to see. And it's in the original. I can see it clearly, but for the purposes of this, if you can begin to pick out what I'm talking about here at all and bring it into the 3D space, then that's going to be helpful for you. So I'm going to zoom this in a little bit better here so you can see the yellow eye. Like, you can literally see an eye here. Whoops. That's not what I was trying to do. Sorry about this. Whoop. It's kind of jumping around on me here. But again, apologies. You can see it a little bit more clearly there. And again, you can see the mouth is open right here. and there's like a distortion in the field, and that is, it's breathing out. She's breathing out energy, chi, life force. And this is an image of a bunch of little beings that gathered around a fire that I had. It's in a very natural environment by a spring fed stream that comes down out of the mountain. And there's a bunch of trees and bushes and flora all around here. So it's a very wild kind of environment. And I had a stone fire pit and I had a fire in it. And these gathered to, I don't know, observe the fire, I guess. And so you can see this one clearly looks insectoid. And one thing that I really want to say about that is a lot of the beings that we see in this realm, insects, cats, dogs, things like that, they are representatives of beings that are in other realms, higher dimensions, even perhaps other solar systems. And they're here and they're representative of these other beings. And so maybe I think people, if they started to realize that, might want to act a little bit differently. Not everyone would, but I think a lot of people might start to think a little bit differently if their perceptions were opened up to the reality around them about how they treat the living creatures in this realm. Because all of this is conscious, all of this is alive. And when people say the earth isn't alive, they're full of it. It is alive. The earth is a living, because it doesn't look like a human body, doesn't mean it's not a living being. It's a living being. It has a consciousness that we can't comprehend, and we are within that consciousness here in these physical bodies. That doesn't mean that that's all we are, because we also are from elsewhere. But there's a reason why these things exist around us in this realm. And so this clearly looks like a little elfin figure playing a flute. This looks like a little mermaid. I kind of feel like it has a little acorn hat, but that's just me and my imagination. I'm just having fun with that. And then there's this little insectoid kind of guy here. And there's other ones back over in here, but for the purposes of what I'm trying to accomplish here in sharing these with you, those are the most obvious that I would point out. Now, if you see other ones, you're not wrong. Your subconscious, your perceptions are going to pull out what you need to get from the images. And you don't need my permission to say it's there or it isn't there. And that's not imagination. And here's the thing. People say imagination is a bad thing. They say it like it's a bad thing. It's not. Imagination is part of your ability to be a creator being. If you can't imagine something, you can't bring it forth into this realm. People had to imagine that microwaves exist before they could figure out that they did. And you can't see them. So you have to realize that a lot of the words that are used to kind of put this type of thinking down, this type of awareness down, they're used by people that are teaching these things in hidden places, and they're trying to keep you from understanding what's actually going on around you because it gives them more control. It's damaging to the planet. It's damaging to the whole. It's damaging to everything in the cosmos if humans are kept down the way that they're being kept down, because they are creating things that are aberrant. And here's a little plasma being, a little rainbow plasma being. Again, this was the day that I was gardening when I took the pictures with the Lilith tree lady. And this is a being that this is a zoomed in image of it. And that's all I did was zoom it in. I didn't do anything else to it. And you can clearly see there's a being in it. And it's coming out because I'm disturbing the plants, because I'm actually doing some trimming in that area. I don't like to cut plants, but you do need to do some trimming when you do gardens. So there's that. And there's this. And again, when this is a forest road that goes up into, there's really nothing but like, I think there's 2 houses and a cabin up this road. That's it. And so when I walk up through here, I'm disturbing again the energy field, and these beings are coming to see, they're coming, awakening to see what's going on. And so there's an owl head here with a wing. There's an owl coming out, which you can see right here. But I put this here to show you what is here. And then there's a human-like face right here. And I put this here to show you as an example. And you can clearly see eyes and a nose and an open mouth. Like a little bit open, like a little bit. The mouth isn't open on this, but again, my capabilities with what I was doing were somewhat limited. And these will show in a picture as just mist. So again, I have used filters and adjusted the lighting in this, but they come forth as like a mist that comes forward in front of. So they come from the trees and they come just in front of, just enough that you can perceive them in a mist form. And then once you start to see that, then you can often see a whole lot more. Okay, so I'm going to take another break here because I need to do this in segments. So I will be back with the rest in a moment.